This week on World Traveler Cooking, we're going to make Skryliai, Lithuanian word for wings. But we're not talking about chicken wings here. We're talking about the Lithuanian equivalent to lasagna. Now, before I start, it's really important that we take a step back a little bit. The lasagna we know today is a purely Italian dish. There are a whole bunch of variations of it. And basically, it consists of layers of pasta dough, sheets of pasta with other things in between, usually sauces filled with meat and other goodies. What you may not know is that lasagna is actually based on a very old dish. There are equivalents to lasagna found all throughout Europe, including medieval England, where you see sheets of a pasta dough served with cheese and spices. This is the Lithuanian version. So, despite what some people think, I don't actually think this comes from Italy originally. I think this is a completely indigenous dish. And I think if you go back, you will see similar dishes throughout Europe. So, really excited to make this today. I hope you're excited too. The pasta itself is fairly simple. I have 2 cups or 240 grams of all-purpose flour, to which I've added a bit of salt, like maybe 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon. I have an egg, and I have a cup or 240 milliliters of water. Okay, I will probably have to add more flour, so plan on 3 cups or 360 grams. Now the sauce will actually be fairly simple and very Lithuanian. We have bacon, of course we have bacon, right? Onion, of course we have onion, right? Sour cream, of course we have sour cream, right? These are the ingredients that you put, this is basically the same sauce that you could put with Zeppelins, right? So I'm going to do a milk, sour cream, bacon, onion sauce. Be very simple, etc. So let's go ahead and get started. So first we're going to make the dough. We're going to start by pouring the flour into a bowl. We do not have to sift it. And we're going to make a well in the middle of the flour. Into that well we're going to pour the water. And we're going to crack the egg. There we go. And then, just like we would do with any pasta, we basically scoop the flour over the water. And this is going to make a pretty sticky, loose dough or batter. That's fine because we're going to start mixing in more flour. Wow, that's really loose. So, next I'm going to just slowly mix in flour until this no longer is sticking to my hands. So now this doesn't stick to my hands much at all. I think this is about the right consistency. So before I roll this out and start boiling them, I'm going to start on the sauce so that the sauce is ready when this comes out. Alright, but you'll see this is nice and stretchy, and if we let the dough rest a little bit, it will get even stretchier and nicer. So, I'm going to go ahead and just set it here, and I'm going to start on my sauce. So for this bacon sauce, I'm going to start adding my bacon to a relatively cold pan, and I'm going to cook on like a medium-low flame. You might want to go up as far as medium. The point though is to, I'm actually adding a lot of bacon here because I have a lot of dough, and basically once this starts to cook really well, then I'll add my onions. I'm probably going to add an extra onion because that's a lot of bacon. Once I have some fat rendered out, then I'm going to add my onions. I'm basically going to saute this all together while the bacon browns and the onions slowly caramelize. Now, it's better to have your onions chopped a little finer than this, but if they're not chopped this fine, you can just try to cook them for longer, and then they'll shrink down. So we're just going to keep stirring this for a while. So these have been cooking for a while. I think they're getting to the point where I am getting ready to add the milk. And I'm basically going to add about a cup, maybe 2 of milk. The point of adding the milk is that it'll not only deglaze the pan, but it'll also let the onions and bacon stew together. And bring out the flavors of everything. So I'm just going to start with the milk. Then I will add some sour cream to thicken. Yeah, I'm going to add a little more. And I'm just going to turn this all the way down while I go ahead and get my dough managed. Yeah, that's looking really good. So we're just going to let that simmer for a little bit. And then in the meantime, I've turned on some water to boil, and I'm going to go ahead and move this over to the side so that it can cook more slowly. So I've divided the dough into 4 little balls, and each ball I'm going to roll out to 2 or 3 millimeters thick. That's approximately 1/8 of an inch or a little bit thinner. So just take it, roll it. I like to flip it over every time I roll it. And yeah, the dough's still just a little sticky. If you want to, you could flour a little bit, but I don't want to right now. So for each of these 4 balls, I am just periodically lightly flouring it on each side. And rolling it out. The goal is between 1 and 3 millimeters of dough thickness, and I tend to shoot towards closer to 1 millimeter than 3. So 2 or maybe a little less. I've seen instructions that say 2 to 3, but my experience is that people usually overestimate how thick their dough is. So it's usually better to go a little bit thinner. And here we have, I think, on the lower side of 2, so just a little longer. And maybe just stretch it out a little bit. And here we go. So now we're going to cut this into triangles or rhombuses. And here we have our first batch. These are going to then go in the boiling water, and it will take 5 to 7 minutes for them to cook. So yeah, I'll be back when they're out of the boiling water. So these are done now. I've taken them out. I'm cooking them in a basket because that's real easy. I'm going to let them drain just a little bit. So I'm going to start with maybe that much sour cream. I think that'll probably be plenty. And then I'm just going to stir this in. Look it in. You can see how much thicker the sauce becomes right away. That's kind of exactly what we're looking for. So there is our sauce. And that is looking really, really good. So, to serve, basically put the Skryliai on a plate, spoon some sauce over it. I would say spoon a bit of sauce over, toss it in the sauce. The Italians have a point about tossing the pasta in the sauce, helping the flavor go everywhere. So I'd recommend that. So toss with a bit of sauce, and then, oops, when this is done, Then we just scoop a bit more sauce over the top, like that. So you can see a little more bacon and stuff. And here is our, let's see if we can see this a little bit better angle. Here's our Skryliai. Next up, the taste test. Before I do the taste test, let me just put a bit of salt. You can salt this to taste, and a bit of pepper on this. This is actually smelling really good. So now for the taste test. This is absolutely delicious. You get the salt, the pepper, the bacon. This kind of reminds me of an American, what they call in the US, a carbonara, but it's not at all. This is a Lithuanian dish, and it's absolutely delicious. Now, if you find this content interesting, I hope I've earned a like and a subscription from you, and please feel free to check out my Patreon page where you can support my work and get early access to many of my videos. Similarly, if you make this dish but do it a little differently, please let me know how you do it differently in the comments. I love to hear that sort of thing. At any rate, recipes in the description. Bon appetit, and see you next week.